Hey, hey, welcome to Progress with Patience, a podcast created to share experiences and create a space to start and continue important conversations. This episode is titled For the Toughest Soldiers, a particularly important conversation. I am not religious, but I do believe in a higher power. I've always heard the God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors quote, and whether or not we believe it while we're going through it, we are indeed God's toughest soldiers/warriors. Disclaimer. I may make suggestions, but understand that I am simply sharing my experiences and research so others in similar situations don't make the same mistakes or feel as alone. This episode is the mental health episode. Well, there will be multiple, so this is a mental health episode. I will have resources linked in the caption because I know it's going to get deep and you may need someone to talk to. Feel free to reach out. This was a hard episode to make. Not just recording, but even planning was hard because there's so much I wanted to be careful about in talking about such a sensitive topic. But it's also very real and personal for me. So I went through a lot of emotions while drafting what I was going to say and being picky about what I was going to say because I have so much to say. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was talking about it. It can be really hard because you're scared of triggering people and, you don't want to come off. There are so many reasons people don't talk about it. The reason people don't talk, when I didn't talk about it to my friends or my family, it was because I didn't want to bring the mood down or I didn't want to put my burdens on it. I didn't want to be a burden to anyone. I didn't want to put my pain on anyone else. But when it comes to asking for help and speaking up about it as the person who's going through it, I learned that it's more important to ask for help than for them to hear about the aftermath because they would rather hear that you need help than hear about you being gone at the end of the day. But also talking about it as people who aren't experiencing it. It's an important conversation to have, whether you're going through it or not. It's important for people to know that they can come to you. It's important for people to know that there are resources out there. It's important for people to know that this conversation is not taboo or downbringing or mood ruining, This is an important top conversation to have. If we don't create a space where we can have this conversation, nobody will ever talk about it. And when we don't talk about things, when we hold them inside, they eat us up. And when I attempted, there were a lot of things eating me up. There were a lot of things that I didn't talk about. And I just let them all grow inside me and grow and grow and grow until I couldn't handle it anymore. About things, and we need the spaces to talk about things. So as someone not going through it or going through it, it's important to create the space to talk about it. And as someone going through it, it's important to speak up. I know how hard it is, but it's important that we do. Nobody will know unless you tell them. And sometimes we think people can see all the hints, you feel like you're just throwing so many hints. You feel like, and I don't know if I'm saying you feel like, I felt like I was throwing all the hints. I was being so obvious. I was crying in my room and I was just thinking, I know y'all can hear me. I would go hide in different places in my school where nobody would be and just be expecting somebody to walk around a corner or, one time it happened to me where someone did find out. I didn't ask for help, but my friend saw it on my face and she went and found my notebook where I had written my letter, the letter. And she brought it to the after school counselor who it needed to go to. And they took me to the mental health counselor of the school who I needed to talk to. I just didn't know how to speak up about it. And I will forever be grateful for that friend because that was freshman year of high school. There was so much more for me after that. There is still so much more for me. And I'm a senior in college. I hadn't even gotten to the point where I could develop the concept of what I wanted to go into. And now I have made my pain my purpose. As crazy, not even crazy, as different as that may be, making your pain your purpose. I am using the techniques I used. I plan on teaching people the techniques I used to cope with my stuff. I got into my creativity. Creativity was my peace. I painted, I danced, I sang, I did it all. You know, creativity was my entire peace. And without having something that brings you peace, you may never find it. That's why I find it so important to ask people what makes you happy, what brings you peace. When I ask people if they have a hobby or you know anything, it's like, well, not really. And then it's just like they spend so much time focusing on, you know, the reality, the hard parts of life. We get to focus on the fun parts. We get to focus on the things that make us happy. Some of us don't know how to live without them. Some people are fine without the things that make them happy. I am not. My emotions get to me every day. Every single thing that impacts me emotionally, I take in and I hold it in unless I talk about it or I allow myself to feel it. And I've started allowing myself to feel. I will spend all day talking to myself because nobody knows me better than I do. I know that. And for some of us, at one point in time, I was scared of myself. I did not love myself. That's what actually sent me into the hospital when I did go, was a question, a single question that shouldn't have been as triggering as it was. My therapist asked me, do you love yourself? And I broke down because I don't think there was anything more painful than me not having my own back. And it took a long time to learn that, like at least, 2 years, 3 years. I had to spend a lot of time alone and talking to myself and getting in connection with my inner child and my adulthood person, that, like who I was trying to be, who I was, and who I was in the present. It was my senior year of high school, COVID. There was a lot going on in the present, but there was also a lot going on in the past that was coming back up. And then there was also the fear of the future. Like, what am I going to do? So it was important that I had someone to talk to. It was important that I had the resources to get into the hospital that I needed to be in. It was all important, but what was the most important was that I had me. And in that moment, I didn't. But I found me, and now I have me. It takes time. We want it to come like that. We want it to be there. We want to have everything. We want to be happy. But we can't all the time. It's hard. And I know how hard it is to be happy sometimes. Life is hard. There's a lot going on in the world, and especially the caring people, the people who take in the world situations for themselves. We go on social media. We see a million different tragic situations in our country, in our own country, in our state, in our city, in our families, in our friends. Excuse me. We see a lot of things and they impact us, and we need to talk to people about them. But I feel like first we need to talk to ourselves, because for me, I don't know how to communicate my thoughts until I've processed it for myself. I've taken it in. I have talked to myself, figured out, where is this emotion coming from? Why am I feeling this way? What do I need to do next? The healthiest thing I can do next. And I will literally run through every single coping mechanism I know. And I've been in therapy for years, so I got a nice little list of things I can do. Let me list real quick. Coping mechanisms, because I need everybody to know. There's grounding, going outside, walking in the grass. And then there's a thing I do. I don't know if it's called grounding, but I found it in this book that I have that my therapist made me get. It was this green dialectical behavioral therapy workbook. And it taught me to tap into all 5 senses. What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I feel? Hear, smell, touch. I can't even remember all my senses right now. But tap into all of the senses. Ask yourself all of those questions. Even what do you taste? That can be things that get your mind to lock in on other stuff. And that really works when I'm having anxiety attacks. I just had one last week. And I had to ground myself. I was sitting in class and all the assignments just started rolling. And it overwhelmed me to the point where I almost broke down in class. I was getting ready to run out. But then I sat back in my seat. I took a deep breath. And I asked myself, what do I hear? What do I smell? What do I feel? What do I taste? And all of that. And it got me to focus less on the homework and more on the present moment. You know, not what do I have to do in the future, but what is happening right now. But even when that doesn't work, and sometimes it doesn't, I have to visualize my safe place. This is the one that works most effectively for me. My grandma's house is always what I go back to. My grandma's house was always a safe haven when bad things would happen, whenever I felt in pain. And I remember doing this even while the trauma was occurring. I would think about her house. I would think about the stairs, going up the stairs to get in the house. I would think about all the plants she had outside. I would think about the picture she had sitting up. I would think about the way it smelled. I would think about her face. You know, just imagining my safe place. And y'all see what I say about how I get emotional talking about this stuff? Not easy, okay? None of it is, but that doesn't stop the fact that we need to talk about it, right? I'm not going to stop filming this episode just because I'm getting emotional, you know? A little quivering in my words ain't going to harm nobody. It's okay. Emotions are more than okay. Emotions are necessary. They are not just okay. They are necessary. Don't deny them. They will come back. Back to my coping mechanisms. And these are the ones I use. Feel free to take anything for yourself that work for you. Feel free to look up more that may work for you, because there are some I don't even know. And then when I said I got into creativity, I would go to empty spaces and dance. And in my apartment, sometimes there's a nice space in the workout room, or there's a separate studio to the workout room, or, you know, sometimes even just outside or in the garage or in my room. You know, I'd move stuff around in the living room when I was home alone, and I would do that. Or in my room, I'd push my bed to the side and just feel. Sometimes dancing isn't about having choreography. It's about just letting yourself feel the music and just letting the music take you, you know, and that be the way that you feel. And I would sing, you know, I sing a little, and not many people know, but I sing a little, and I will sing my lungs out, go on a nice drive and sing. Now, there were times when I couldn't go on a drive because that was dangerous for me. And in those moments, we have to know ourselves, to know that the thoughts that would occur if I had one on that drive, I had to know that it would have been dangerous. So I would sit in my room singing, and I did not care who heard me. Top of my lungs, let me tell you. I would even go sit in my car and just play my music on blast so that, you know, it would kind of allow me not to hear my voice so much. And just, I would take in the music again. Taking in the music can really make a difference, because sometimes we need to feel the pain, and music helps us feel the pain. So don't feel bad about putting on a sad song and letting yourself sit there and cry. But understand that eventually you may need to play, you know, gradually allow your music to get more upbringing, you know, bring your mood up. Because we can start with the slow beats. But then, you know, you got to get to the boom and the boom. And then, you see how my hand is moving? You got to, well, you can't see it if you're hearing it. But you have to slowly get your music quicker so that you go from the sad music to the happy music. And suddenly you're thinking about the happier things in life. You know, we're not ignoring the sad things in life. We acknowledge the sad things in life. We cried about the sad things in life. We grieved, we felt, and then we allowed ourselves to focus on the good. There's always good, even if it's just one or two things. Do not underestimate the power of those one or two things or one or two people. I did not reach out to many people at one point in time. I didn't have many friends, but the two that I did have, I reached out to them, and one of them came running to me and saved me when I attempted. You know, never know. I would also paint. I painted a lot in 2020. Like, my works of art on my social medias, you can see the work that I've done. I have painted an amazing amount. I'm talking crazy. And all of it shows you my story if you really look. You know, my art tells my story. I would paint, sometimes not even with words. You know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. That's why I believe in the power of art, because we can say it doesn't mean anything. But if you look deeper, you can see someone's entire story. You can see their pain. Maybe their painting was their cry for help and you didn't look deep, you know? But also, I don't want to say anything like that to place blame on anybody when things do occur, when people do decide to end things, you know? It's never, and I'm jumping back and forth, but you see where I'm going with this, right? We can't blame it on ourselves. We may have been a part of the reason, but I don't think there's ever one whole entire reason that someone decides it's the time. But then again, there are so many different reasons someone could decide to do it. And maybe we do need to take part of the blame. Maybe there is something we need to change about how we move through the world. And for my friend, I had a friend who recently decided to end things. And I got mad at the world when it happened. And I got mad at the world when it happened to me, which is what drove me to my purpose. Not when it happened to me, but when I made the same decision, when I attempted. I got mad at the world for not providing enough spaces for me to have the conversation, for not making me feel safe enough to come forward. Because we live in a society that does not prioritize mental health. Society was not built for us to care about ourselves, for us to care about our mental health. It was built for us to do what we have to do to survive, regardless of how we're feeling emotionally. Emotions to the side at all times. Wrong. And I am I feel so much anger towards society for that. And not just society, but like for the system. The way the system works, it's all in the system. It is not built to care about our mental health, no matter which part of the system you look at. It's never about prioritizing mental health until you choose to change something. And that's what I'm going to try to do. And after her, it became more important that spaces are created where we can talk about it, where it's not a taboo conversation, where we're not bringing the mood down, where sadness is okay. Let those tears out, because those hallways I had to go find to hide in on every school campus could have been a counselor's office. It could have been a mental health room. It could have been a therapy center. It could have been an outpatient treatment center. It could have been an inpatient treatment center, with both of the last ones I did end up in later on. But when I was first experiencing it, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know what I was going through. I just knew I was sad all the time, and it hurt. And it hurt. That was all I knew. And all I knew was I wanted to stop the hurt. And the only way I knew to stop that was, and it didn't have to be that. It didn't have to be to end everything. There were other ways to cope. And I just wish that more people knew about all the different ways there are, all the different options they have. I'm going to list another one and another one. Writing. I am a poet. Actually, speaking of that, I do have a poem. I just wrote her. I'm really good at mixing in happy emotions with sad emotions. Every now and then you got to throw it in. I'm really good at dark humor. I don't know if I should be that good at dark humor, but I am, because it has kept me up. It has kept me up. Okay. It is September. It is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. Another important reason that I did this episode instead of any other topic that I could have done. Another reason I chose to write this poem. Not like I don't know how to talk about it, more like I don't know what to say. Like, I understand, but don't give up on plans you have yet to make. And maybe it's because I understand so well because I've walked in those shoes, feeling like your life is nothing special to lose. fighting not to do it, to push through. But sometimes life is so hard to do. And no matter how much people try to help you find the bright side, you can't seem to find the lights. But my love, there is even light in all the darkness of the night. There's the stars, the moon, and the city lights. And in you, the light can be found in your heart, in your eyes, maybe even the way you speak. And if your mind can make you feel pain this strong, it can make you feel happiness equally. Respect the power that you hold. Yes, your mind is strong, but you are so much stronger than you see, than you think. But I see it. The poem goes untitled to this day, but I will title it eventually. Yeah, this month has been a lot to process. But I do think it's important that we know sometimes people see potential in us that we don't even see in ourselves. And it really makes me wonder, what did these people see? Why? Like, I used to wonder, why do y'all love me so much? Why are you still here? Because you are more amazing than you know. You are more than just the bad moments. And I feel like that's really important for us to hear and to know. We are more than the bad times. There are some good times. And I always see the people who had a lot of good in them. And that is what everyone chooses to focus on when they're gone. When they've made the decision to end. All of the people that loved them and cared for them come out with all of the good things that made them amazing. And I wish that we saw more of those things in ourselves, but sometimes we're not in spaces that emphasize the good things about us, or we're constantly being told that the things that we believe are good about us aren't good. And as hard as it is, we have to know for a fact, we have to stand our ground on the things we believe and the way we feel and who we are. I'm sassy. I am loud. I am, energy packed. And to some people, that made me an attention getter. I didn't care about nobody's attention, to be honest. They made it so negative. They made my open and loud personality a negative thing. When honestly, that open and loud personality was necessary for me to survive and to help other people and to care about other people and to help bring up other people. It's important that we know the good things about us and don't let anyone tell us that what we believe is good about us is bad. And it's also important that we know enough about what is truly bad, and we've developed a moral basis and a moral ground to where we're not cocky. We're not doing too much, but we're doing enough to know I'm it. I'm it. And we all need to know I'm it as you are, no matter how you are. There are so many different kinds of people in this world. We're not meant to be one kind of person. We are not meant to all function the same way. We are not meant to love the same way. We are not meant to speak the same way. We are not meant to move about this world the same way. So when you're out there wanting to be someone else, understand that maybe the world needs the uniqueness that you bring. They need your personality. They need your spark. Someone in this world may need what you bring to this world. Someone in this world may be looking for exactly what you have because all these other people ain't got it. As hard as it is, we have to love ourselves. And I'm a poet. That's how I write. But there are also stories you can write. I know people who have written stories, and that has been their coping mechanism. And I've read some amazing stories from the most creative of minds who drew their creativity from their pain. You can write music. Again, I sing, some of these poems can be turned into some great raps. I'm not a rapper though. That's why I do poetry. But for some people, rapping works. Yeah. So that's all I got. The grounding, the tapping into your five senses, the going outside, walking in the grass, taking in the sunrise, sunsets, listening to water. Like sometimes I will literally go by a lake or a waterfall and just listen. Or even just a pool, the pool, the water flows with the wind. You can hear it. You can always hear it. Water helps. And my mama bought me this little water fountain, like a little tiny one for my room. Not a tiny one, but a little small one for my room. And I just listen to it, and it actually helps me focus. When I'm working, I turn on my little waterfall. It helps. Envisioning your safe place. That one, my favorite, is great. Breathing. Breathing is always a good one. There's the, what do they call it? The 4-7-8 technique. There's one where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 7, and breathe out for 8. And then there's also one where I have not been counting as I do it, but I breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. There are different breathing techniques. Look them up. I will link some. Okay. There's dancing. Let it out. Don't focus on choreography or if you look good. Feel. That is the goal. The goal is to feel. Just feel. Don't put the expectations on yourself for more. Singing. Again, you don't have to sound like Beyonce. Feel the music. Let yourself feel what that artist was feeling. And allow it to help you come up from those dark times. Allow your dancing to help you come up from those dark times. It's okay to start with the sad, but we can't stay there. We can't stay there. Painting, drawing, get into all the creative stuff. Writing, poetry, stories, and music. Embrace your creativity. And I feel like that was a key piece for me personally, was embracing my creativity when I was going through some tough stuff. Embracing my creativity. But that's really, I wish I had more to say. But my mind goes blank when I talk about it, Like when I talk about suicide and depression and, anxiety and borderline personality comes up for me. But there are all different types of diagnoses, and I had a therapist to help me get through this. And there are services that do offer free therapy sessions. Look into them. Look into what your insurance offers, your parents' insurance offers. Look into what your school offers, high school or college. Look into spaces that allow you to embrace things that may not be specifically focused on mental health, but figure out your hobbies and put yourself out there. Find other people who have the same hobbies. Find support groups. Those are a thing. They are definitely a thing. And I know here in Houston, we have resources and spaces where they do create a safe space to feel these emotions. And I love those spaces. I personally have not been in many of them other than outpatient and inpatient hospital. I've also been to the Montrose Center. I am LGBTQ+. That is a space that offers resources for us. There's a Trevor Project. There's the National Hotline. There are all these things that you can do. And then there are your inner networks. But at the end of the day, what I want you to take from this more than anything else is there is you. You are your most important resource. Lock in on you before you try and lock in on someone else to take care of you. Before you try and even lock in on a pet to take care of you, a child to take care of you. You got you. Even when you don't think you do. And I even said it in another poem about how I have to focus on the older me to have my back when the present me can't. Because I'm in a very hard place in life right now. I don't got the money I want to have. I don't have the free time to go do the things I want to do. I don't have the mental space and clarity to process everything going on. But I know that there's a version of me ahead who has all of that. And I let her lead me. Because I know one day, those two words, one day, that one day keeps me going. Because I see it, and I see it all. But I also see the girl from my past. when I couldn't see the future, I would see the girl from my past, the little girl that deserved better. And I knew I was going to give her better because she deserved it. Okay. Thanks for listening. Bye, y'all.